There's this moment in every marriage, somewhere between the third and fifth year, where the silence becomes less of a pause and more of a pattern. I remember when Michelle used to wake me up by crawling under the covers like a kid looking for warmth. Now, most mornings, she just slides out of bed like she's trying not to wake a stranger. No good morning. No smile. Just the soft creak of the bathroom door closing behind her. I'm Paul Granger, 36. I sell software to construction companies. It's not glamorous, but it pays well, keeps the lights on, fills the fridge, and allows us the occasional 3-day getaway to places that overcharge for shrimp. Michelle's a dental assistant. She's always been proud of the fact that she makes people smile. Irony is not lost on me. We live in Charlotte, North Carolina. Suburbia. Beige walls, white blinds, gas grill, and a neighbor who thinks blowing leaves at 7 a.m. is an Olympic sport. Michelle and I bought the house 4 years ago. Back then, we used to bicker over backsplash options and paint colors. Now we mostly don't talk at all unless it's about bills or our cat Baxter's vomiting habits. The truth? I didn't see it coming. At least not the way people on Reddit talk about it. There were no lipstick stains, no hotel receipts, no sudden new wardrobe. Nothing screamed, "Paul, your wife is writing another chapter, and you're not in it." If anything, Michelle had gotten quieter. And I've learned that sometimes quiet is where the betrayal hides. We met in Asheville. Brewery crawl. She hated beer but came with friends. I was dragged along by mine. She was the kind of woman who made you believe in sharp comebacks and second chances. Quick to laugh. Always carried mints. She said it was to keep her karma clean. I like that. We talked about everything that night, music, family, how overrated brunch is. She told me she hated olives. I pretended I did too. It wasn't love at first sight, but it was comfort, which honestly is way more sustainable. We got married after 2 years of dating. Nothing big. Her dad didn't like crowds. We rented a house on Lake Norman, kept it small. There's a photo of us from that day where she's laughing at something I said. I've stared at that picture enough times to forget what the joke was. Lately, I find myself comparing that photo to the version of Michelle who eats in silence across from me. It's like watching a movie you loved as a kid and realizing as an adult the characters were kind of jerks. Or maybe I'm the jerk. Who knows? This isn't a sob story. It's not even a story about heartbreak. Not yet. It's about noticing the space in your life where something used to be and realizing you've spent the last 6 months pretending it was never there to begin with. I used to think marriages fell apart with one big explosion. Some yelling, a thrown plate, maybe a suitcase packed in haste. But ours? Ours is unraveling like the edge of an old sweater, slowly, thread by thread, while you keep wearing it because it's the only thing in the drawer that still fits. Michelle isn't cruel. That's what makes this worse. She still asks about my day. She still folds my laundry. She still watches the shows we both started together, even if she's scrolling through her phone half the time. But she's somewhere else. That's what people don't tell you. You can lose someone and still see them every day. You can kiss someone and still feel like a stranger's hand brushed your cheek. The first time I really knew something was wrong was the night she laughed at a meme I didn't send. We were watching TV, some Netflix docuseries about cults, our shared guilty pleasure. And she snorted at something on her phone. When I asked what it was, she said, "Just something funny from Rachel." But Rachel's not funny. I've met Rachel. She drinks kombucha and talks about her chakras. Not exactly the meme-sending type. So yeah, I noticed. I noticed when she started locking her phone. I noticed when she forgot I was allergic to mushrooms and still ordered risotto at that new place. I noticed when she started sleeping on the left side of the bed again, the side she said hurt her back. But I didn't say anything. Because maybe, I thought, people go through things. Maybe we were in a lull. Maybe she'd circle back. But here's the thing about lulls. Sometimes they're just exits in disguise. I remember a conversation we had about 6 months into our marriage. We were tipsy, lying on the floor of our old apartment. She asked me, "What would you do if I cheated?" I laughed and said, "You'd never do that." She smiled and said, "Good answer." Then she kissed me like I'd passed a test. Now I wonder if that was the first warning sign, the way she asked the question like she was filing it away for later. This morning she left early, said she had a team meeting at the dental office. I asked if she wanted me to bring lunch by. She said no, then kissed me on the cheek like I was a relative she barely remembered. She left her laptop open on the kitchen counter. Not password protected. Michelle, the woman who once wouldn't let me use her phone to check directions because she was weird about privacy, just left her MacBook wide open like it was begging me to take a look. I didn't. Not yet. But I'm thinking about it now. Not because I want to catch her, but because I think I already have. And I need proof. Not for court. Not even for confrontation. Just for me. Just to confirm that I'm not crazy. Because the most dangerous thing about betrayal isn't what it does to your marriage. It's what it does to your sanity. So that's where we are. Somewhere between the lie and the reveal. Between the memory and the realization. I don't know exactly what Michelle's hiding, but I can feel it. And I'm done pretending I don't. Tomorrow, I'll start looking. Quietly. Carefully. Like a man searching for a version of his life that used to make sense. And when I find it, let's just say I'm not the type to blow up, but I am the type to keep score. Michelle started smiling again. Not at me, of course. That would have been too obvious. No, her smiles were directed at her phone, usually during laundry folding or while she was sipping her overpriced almond milk lattes at the dining table. It wasn't just a smile. It was that dumb, low-effort grin people get when they're texting someone they're not supposed to be texting. The kind you try to bury behind a coffee cup but can't quite smother. You ever see your spouse look happier with a screen than they've looked with you in months? That's not just a red flag, that's an evacuation order. So I did something I'm not proud of, but I don't regret it either. I became observant. Not snoopy. Not invasive. Just methodical. I took stock of her habits. Started with what I called the smile audit. Time of day. Context. Frequency. A pattern started to form. Mid-morning, around 11:15 a.m., like clockwork, she'd get this little ping on her phone, glance at it like it owed her money, then smirk like someone just whispered a filthy joke in her ear. Then she'd start typing. Rapid-fire thumbs. Like she was trying to impress someone with how witty she could be. If I happened to walk into the room, the phone would disappear into her lap like she was hiding a nuclear code. Still, I kept my mouth shut. Instead, I started volunteering to run errands I normally avoided. Grocery store. Post office. Bank. Things that'd get me out of the house and let me coincidentally pass by her office on 7th Street. You know, to see if she was actually working the hours she claimed she was. Turns out, she was. She was definitely at the dental office. I even went in once, said I chipped a molar. She looked surprised, not thrilled, not warm. Just surprised, like a coworker you didn't expect to see at a gas station. The receptionist handed me a clipboard. Michelle was halfway through a cleaning in another room. She poked her head out for 5 seconds, said, "Really, Paul?" with a tight smile, then ducked back in. Okay, so she was there. But that didn't mean much. Plenty of affairs bloom right under fluorescent lighting and complimentary toothpaste samples. Here's where it got weird. Last Thursday, Michelle asked if I could drop her off at work because her car smelled like something was dying in the vents. I said sure. We're driving along, nothing unusual. Then, we pass this rundown, yellow-painted house on Belmont. She glances out the window like it owes her something. Then, she shifts in her seat, checks her hair in the mirror, and smooths down her blouse like she's meeting someone important. That a new listing or something? I asked, casually. I used to be a real estate agent. Still know the game. Huh, she said. Oh, no. Just looked familiar. Thought it used to be my friend's house in college. She never went to college in Charlotte. The next day, I drove past the same place on my way to Home Depot. Parked out front? A silver Hyundai Elantra with a dentist bumper sticker. Michelle's sticker. Michelle's car. The same one I was told smelled like death. Which led me to one undeniable conclusion. She was lying about the car. I didn't say a word. Not when she came home that night with a gallon of oat milk and a new pair of yoga pants she claimed were on sale. Not when she said she was too tired for dinner and went straight to bed at 8:45. Not when she started humming again while brushing her teeth. I waited. The break came on a Saturday. Baxter, our cat, professional thrower-upper and all-around windowsill philosopher, knocked over Michelle's tote bag while chasing a fly. Out tumbled her work tablet. Not the one she keeps at home. The clinic-issued iPad with a secured case and her initials engraved in the back. Normally, she never brings it home. But Saturday, she forgot. Or maybe fate just felt bored. I picked it up, planning to just set it on the counter. But then I saw the calendar app. One entry stood out. Saturday afternoon. MB Clean, 2:30 p.m. What the hell is MB Clean? We don't own a cleaning service. She doesn't clean on Saturdays, that's when she runs errands. And 2:30 is precisely the time she usually disappears for 2 hours with no receipts to show for it. So I did what any suspicious husband with an aversion to cliches would do. I got smart. I remembered her Apple ID. Not because I spied. Because I set it up. Back when she forgot her password for the 3rd time, she asked me to reset it. I picked something she'd remember. Her childhood dog's name and the street she grew up on. I went into the shared Apple account on my phone, the one she forgot we'd linked years ago to sync our calendars. And there it was. The recurring event. MB Clean. Every Saturday. Same time. Different addresses. Sometimes the yellow house on Belmont. Sometimes a duplex near Monroe. Once, a chiropractor's office after hours. All labeled, MB Clean. I Googled it. Nothing. No cleaning company. No initials that made sense. Unless MB was initials. Michelle. And B? No. No way. I closed the app, trying not to throw my phone across the kitchen. There was only one person I knew who fit the bill. Brandon. Brandon Knight. Her ex-Mr. Six-Pack Abs and hot yoga guru who wasn't ready for commitment 3 months before she met me. She swore they were done, that he moved to Denver. Turns out, he came back. I remember seeing him once 2 years ago at a brewery downtown. He said, "Paul, heard you locked down the unicorn," like it was a compliment. Like he was passing me a torch instead of admitting he lost something. And Michelle, she smiled when she saw him. One of those awkward, too long smiles like she didn't know whether to wave or hide. That's when I started connecting dots. One weekend, she claimed she was meeting Rachel for brunch. I happened to run into Rachel that same day at the Target by our house. She said she hadn't seen Michelle in a month. That's when I knew. That was the day I went back into the Apple ID and turned on the Find My feature. Just in case. Just to watch. From a distance. And every Saturday since, Michelle's location pinged somewhere new. Always at a place with no business being part of her life. And yet, always there. Always like clockwork. I didn't confront her. I didn't scream. I made a spreadsheet. Call it pathetic. Call it obsessive. But I needed clarity. I logged each location. Duration of stay. Excuse used. Frequency. I gave each visit a plausibility score. And week after week, the numbers didn't lie. Michelle had her own life. A life I wasn't in. And the worst part? She was good at it. Really, really good at pretending. But not good enough. Because she forgot the one rule cheaters always forget. If you're going to live a double life, don't get lazy with your calendar invites. Next Saturday, I plan to take a drive. To the yellow house on Belmont. I want to see it for myself. Because I'm done guessing. And I'm not the kind of guy who makes a scene. But I am the kind of guy who likes confirmation before confrontation. And I've got one hell of a plan. But first, I want to watch her smile one more time. Just to remember what it looks like when someone's lying to your face and thinks you're too dumb to notice. The yellow house on Belmont looked like a fixer-upper that nobody fixed. Peeling paint. A sagging porch. One of those old metal screen doors that clatters when the wind catches it. There were 2 cars out front when I pulled up. A silver Hyundai Elantra, Michelle's, and a black Jeep with oversized tires that screamed. I peaked in college. I didn't park on the street. I parked around the corner and walked the last block on foot like I was casing a joint, which I guess, in a way, I was. 2:29 p.m. I stood by the corner mailbox pretending to scroll through my phone, heart hammering like a bass drum, palms sweaty in my jacket pockets. I wasn't nervous. I was rehearsing, mentally staging the scene like a director prepping for the climax. But I didn't want drama. I wanted precision. 2:30. I watched Michelle exit the house. No hesitation. No looking around. No guilt. She smiled. That smile. The same one I hadn't seen directed at me in months. It was relaxed, effortless, like the world around her didn't exist. Like nothing about this moment was stolen. She turned back toward the door, and, right on cue, he stepped out. Brandon Knight. Wearing gym shorts, a tank top, and the kind of smugness you can't teach. He leaned on the doorframe like he was posing for an off-brand cologne ad. She touched his chest like it belonged to her. Then she kissed him. Not a goodbye kiss. Not a fling kiss. It was long. Familiar. I didn't look away. There it was, the answer to every strange excuse, every just running errands, every I'm too tired tonight. I waited until she pulled away from him. Until she started walking toward her car. Then I stepped out from behind the mailbox and crossed the street. She was halfway to the Hyundai when she saw me. Her smile dropped. Instant. Gone. Like a switch flipped. She froze mid-step. Her purse slipped slightly off her shoulder. She didn't even move to fix it. Hey, I said, as casually as someone greeting their wife outside her affair partner's house can sound. She blinked, mouth slightly open. Paul, you always schedule your cheating for 2:30? Or is that just the Belmont shift? She didn't answer. Her lips parted, but the words must have gotten lost somewhere between shame and panic. Brandon, of course, was still leaning in the doorway like a human hazard sign. He didn't move, just watched. "Hi, Brandon," I said. "Still doing CrossFit, or just Michelle now?" He grinned, smug, like I'd handed him a trophy. "You want to come in, man? We could talk about it." "I'm good out here," I said. "I don't usually discuss my wife's affairs with guys who can't spell monogamy." Michelle finally snapped out of it. "Paul, I can explain." "No, you really can't," I said, turning toward her. "But hey, give it a shot. I'm curious what the script sounds like this time." She stepped closer, hand reaching out like this was just a misunderstanding at the grocery store. "I didn't plan for this to happen. It just happened." "Sure. Of course. One day you woke up and just fell into someone else's bed. Happens all the time." I didn't raise my voice. That would have been a gift. Rage is noisy. Calm is terrifying. She looked down. "I've been unhappy. Unhappy is a feeling. Cheating is a choice." She flinched at that. Good. She was supposed to. I kept going. "You know the sad part? I didn't even catch you. You caught yourself. You got lazy. Started making mistakes. Smile timing. Duplicate calendar entries. Wrong lies to the wrong friends. I wasn't trying to lie to you, Paul." "Really? Then what were you doing?" "Because I've got a spreadsheet that says otherwise." She actually laughed at that, nervous, breathy, like she thought it was a joke. "You made a spreadsheet?" I nodded. "Yeah, color-coded and everything. Want to see how consistent your betrayal was over the last 3 months." "Paul, you." "No, don't. You don't get to Paul your way out of this." That's when she started crying. I swear to God, they always cry after they get caught. Like it's a magic wand that resets the scoreboard. As if tears fix time theft and marital fraud. "You don't understand," she said. "Oh, I understand perfectly. You like the idea of me. Safe. Predictable. Always picking up the takeout and putting gas in your car. But you missed the chaos. You missed being wanted by someone who didn't know what your morning breath smelled like." She looked stunned, like I'd reached into her head and found the exact words she hadn't even said out loud yet. Brandon still hadn't moved. Still watching. Still smirking. "You're right," she whispered. "I missed something." "No," I said, "you missed you. You're chasing a version of yourself that doesn't exist anymore. The version that needed attention to feel real." She wiped her eyes. "I'm sorry." I stared at her for a long moment, then shrugged. Okay. Yeah, you're sorry. That's noted. But let me be crystal clear, this ends now. Not the affair. Us. You and me. The marriage. The shared Netflix account. The cute little couple's photo on the nightstand. Her lips trembled. "You're ending it?" "No, Michelle. You ended it. I'm just making it official." She stepped toward me again. "Can we at least talk? I think we need." "You lost the privilege of we when you started seeing him while telling me you were running to Target for cat litter." I turned to leave. She called after me. "Where are you going?" "Home," I said, walking away. "To pack your stuff." She didn't follow. That silence? Best thing I've heard all year. When I rounded the corner and got back in my car, I didn't drive off right away. I just sat there and laughed. Not because it was funny, but because sometimes, when you finally see the full picture, it's so obvious you wonder how you missed it in the first place. Brandon can have her. Let's see how fun she is without the man who handled her taxes, kept her oil changed, and remembered her mom's birthday. Next week's gonna be wild. I've got a plan. And it's going to be satisfying in a way no Screamfest ever could be. Because revenge? That's best served with subtlety. And a clipboard. Michelle moved out 2 days after the confrontation on Belmont. That is, she moved in the technical sense. Her things disappeared from the house. Not all at once, but slowly. A suitcase here, a box there. Like a ghost cleaning up after itself. I didn't stop her. I even left the key under the mat for convenience. Let the ghost come and go. She didn't try to talk again. Which was smart. See, people think revenge is about fire and fury. Smashing things. Burning clothes on the lawn. But that's not revenge. That's a tantrum. My plan didn't need yelling or drama. It needed timing. Subtlety. A calm hand and an even colder sense of humor. I call it the clipboard strategy. It started with a spreadsheet. The same one Michelle mocked outside Brandon's house. That spreadsheet, the one logging all her little lies and Saturday disappearances, wasn't just for me. It was Exhibit A. I printed it out, added a clean black binder cover, labeled it Michelle's Alternate Life, time audit. Real professional. Looks like something you bring to a shareholder meeting. I even made tabs. Locations, alibis, cross-references, and my favorite, discrepancies. But that was just step 1. Step 2? The email. I sent the binder PDF to one address. Her boss at the dental clinic, Dr. Carol Emmons. Now, I didn't rat Michelle out because I wanted her fired. That'd be too easy. I sent it because Michelle had been using the clinic's scheduling software to input her fake MB clean sessions. Time theft. Insurance fraud. HIPAA-adjacent issues. You can't be clocked and treating patients when you're busy tongue wrestling your yoga ex-boyfriend 3 zip codes away. The subject line of the email? Concerned about scheduling inconsistencies, patient safety risk? Just vague enough to require opening. Just serious enough to spark panic. No response from Dr. Emmons. But by the next morning, Michelle's car wasn't at the clinic. By noon, her profile was gone from their website. Check. Step 3? Social. Michelle loved Instagram. Loved being a wellness queen, as she called it. Weekly stories about smoothies, Pilates, dental health tips. She had a carefully curated image, all natural light and neutral tones and hashtags like hashtag self-care. So I hacked her brand. Not her account. I'm not a criminal. I started a new one at the other Michelle. Same aesthetic. Same filters. Different content. I posted screenshots from the spreadsheet. GPS pings. Date-stamped calendar invites. Even a side-by-side of her smiling at brunch with Rachel and Rachel posting that same day from her cabin 3 hours away. I captioned it, "When your alibi has Wi-Fi." The account gained 300 followers in 2 days. I didn't follow anyone from her circle, but someone found it. Word spreads fast in influencer land. Michelle texted me that night, "What the hell are you doing? That account is libel." I replied with a screenshot of her calendar titled "MB Clean" and said, "Libel requires the statements to be false. You want me to delete it? I'll consider it if you send a written apology acknowledging the affair, the lies, and the misuse of company time. I'll even include a rebrand consultation. You know I'm good with fonts." No reply. Check. Now for the finale. The friends and family move. When Michelle left, she didn't tell everyone the truth. She let people assume it was a mutual decision, that we'd grown apart. Harmless breakup phrasing. Convenient. Sterile. So I fixed that, too. I hosted a dinner. Invited 6 couples, our closest circle. People who'd known us since we moved to Charlotte. People she'd fed this sanitized version of events to. I called it the uncoupling gathering. Printed menus. Plated lasagna. Served wine. And then, before dessert, I passed out copies of the spreadsheet. Bound. Glossy. Personalized. Each one had a post-it that said, "Since you've been asking." They flipped through it in silence. The GPS pings. The timestamps. One friend, Jeremy, who's a data analyst, let out a low whistle. I mean, this is cleaner than half the reports I do at work. Another friend, Paige, who once called Michelle her soul sister, said nothing. Just kept reading. Her face a mix of disbelief and dawning recognition. When the questions started, I nodded toward the door. And now, for a surprise guest. The doorbell rang right on cue. I opened it. Michelle stood there, holding a Tupperware of banana bread. Because I'd told her 2 days prior that I was hosting a small get-together to talk about the divorce like adults. She stepped in, saw the faces, the binders, stopped cold. "Hey," I said, smiling. "I thought since you've been telling everyone how mutual this all was, you might want to be here while I clarify a few things." Her eyes darted. To the spreadsheet. To the faces. To the wine glasses. "What is this?" she whispered. I stepped closer. Quiet enough so just she could hear. "This is reality, Michelle. Yours." Served with Cabernet. She stayed for maybe 3 minutes. Said nothing. Then turned and walked out, banana bread still in hand. She never texted me again after that. Checkmate. The next day, I deactivated the Instagram account. Deleted the spreadsheet from Google Drive. Cleared the shared calendar. Changed the locks. Canceled her streaming profiles. Bought a new toothbrush. Tossed her old coffee mug in the trash, the one that said, "Smiles are contagious." It's amazing how much space you get back once you delete someone. People think revenge is about hurting the other person. It's not. It's about reclaiming the narrative. About showing that you saw everything, understood everything, and walked away better, not bitter. Michelle taught me that betrayal is never just one lie. It's a system. A quiet architecture of deceit, maintained day after day by someone who thinks you're too distracted to notice the blueprint changing. But I noticed. I didn't break her windows. I broke her mask. And I did it with a clipboard, a timeline, and the truth. Now, I sleep like a man who doesn't have to guess anymore. And revenge? It's never loud. It's organized. It had been 3 weeks since the uncoupling gathering, and the silence from Michelle wasn't just golden, it was overdue. After the spreadsheet went public and the Instagram curtain closed, she went dark. No calls, no texts, no email attempts, nothing. Which was fine by me. Then, on a Wednesday afternoon, my phone buzzed. Blocked number. I answered because I was bored. Or maybe because some small, stupid part of me still wondered if closure came with a return address. Paul? Her voice. Softer than I remembered. Almost polite. Like a person cautiously knocking on a door she once owned. Michelle. Pause. Do you have a few minutes? I looked at the clock. 2:26 p.m. Yeah. Got 4. Another pause. I was wondering if we could talk in person. I think we need to. Needs a strong word. Please. I should have said no. But curiosity is its own sickness. So I said, fine. My house. In an hour. No banana bread. She didn't laugh. Good. She arrived 53 minutes later, punctual like she used to be, before her schedule got rearranged by whatever needs Brandon had between 2:30 and 4 o'clock. She wore a simple gray sweater. No makeup. Hair tied back. Like she was auditioning for humility. I didn't offer her a seat. She took one anyway. I leaned against the kitchen counter, arms crossed. Waiting. She looked around like she was trying to refamiliarize herself with the space. You changed the curtains. I nodded. They no longer need to match your mood swings. She flinched, but let it slide. I've been thinking a lot. Didn't peg Brandon as the introspective type. She sighed. It's not like that anymore. He's gone. I raised an eyebrow. So this is what? A courtesy call? A PR tour? Am I supposed to give you a hug because Captain Midlife Crisis walked out? She swallowed. No. I'm not here to win you back. Good. That would have been awkward. Michelle looked at me then. Really looked at me. Like she was searching for the version of me she used to know under the sarcasm and restraint. Bad news for her. That guy got archived. I came to apologize, she said. I didn't say anything. Not out of mercy. I just didn't believe in the word anymore. I know sorry doesn't fix anything. I know what I did broke us. I know I humiliated you. I shrugged. You made choices. I made a spreadsheet. Seems even. Her mouth twitched. Almost a smile. But not quite. Paul, you didn't deserve it. You were a good husband. Don't butter me up now. I'm lactose intolerant. She huffed out a quiet laugh. God, you're still like this. Like what? Sharp. Detached. Clever. Wounded. I gave her a slow nod. Wounded? Sure. Clever? Occasionally. But detached? No. I just did what you never did. I processed. She frowned. That's not fair. What part? The part where I built a life with someone who edited me out of hers in real time? Or the part where you brought banana bread to your own trial? She looked away. I lied to myself before I lied to you, she whispered. I convinced myself it was temporary. Harmless. Something I needed to feel alive again. And did you? I asked. Feel alive? She hesitated. No. Just distracted. Interesting trade. Marriage for a distraction. You could have just gotten into puzzles. Michelle didn't respond right away. When she did, her voice was low. You were always the safe place. The person who handled things. Who made everything manageable. And I took advantage of that. I nodded. You did. I don't expect forgiveness. Good. I wasn't planning on offering it. She blinked. Okay. Not because I hate you, I added. But because forgiveness isn't mine to give. You didn't betray me. You betrayed the version of yourself who stood next to me and said she was in this for real. That version died somewhere around month 9, I said. Silence. You were bored, I continued. And instead of saying it out loud like an adult, you hunted excitement like it was on clearance. You used Brandon as an emotional Red Bull. Then when the crash came, you remembered me. I didn't come crawling back, she said defensively. No, I said. You walked. Just like you walked out. She reached into her purse and slid something across the table. An envelope. What's this? A refund. It's a letter. I wrote it after everything happened. I never sent it. I thought, maybe I'd leave it here. Let you read it when you want. I stared at it. You want closure, Michelle. I get it. But this isn't a movie. There's no piano music while I read your confessions and cry into a throw pillow. She nodded, embarrassed. I came here because I still respect you. I still care. Just not the way I used to. Likewise, I said. I care enough to tell you the truth. You didn't ruin my life. You just exited it. She stood, looked around one last time. You're gonna be okay. I already am, I said. She hesitated at the door. You gonna read it? Maybe. She left. I didn't open the envelope. I slid it into the junk drawer, under the spare batteries and old takeout menus. Seemed like the right place for obsolete things. That night, I sat on the couch, cracked a beer, and watched a rerun of that cult docuseries Michelle used to love. Halfway through the episode, I laughed at something the host said, and I realized it was the first time I'd laughed alone in months. And it felt good. Not the kind of good that comes from revenge. The kind that comes from finally getting back to yourself. Michelle was right about one thing. She didn't come crawling back. She didn't have to, because I wasn't where she left me. The thing nobody tells you about divorce isn't how empty the house feels. It's how quiet it gets. Not the silence of loneliness, though that's there too, but the absence of constant second-guessing. The lack of tension in your shoulders. The subtle relief of no longer walking on eggshells in your own home. It creeps in slowly, like good sleep after a long sickness. 3 months have passed since Michelle walked out for good. She's living in a studio apartment near Midtown. Brandon's out of the picture. According to mutual friends, the breakup was complicated, which I assume is code for crash landing. He left. Or she did. The details don't matter. That fire burned out exactly the way you expect when you light it in the middle of a dry forest and think you're safe because you have a cup of water in your hand. Michelle reached out once more. A short text. I hope you're okay. You deserve to be happy. I didn't reply. Not because I'm bitter, but because there's nothing left to say. She gave me closure when she kissed another man and thought I wouldn't notice. I don't need a conversation. I got the whole story without subtitles. The funny part is, once the dust settled, I didn't feel like a man who lost something. I felt like a man who survived something. I hadn't just made it through a marriage. I'd made it through a complete redefinition of myself. I used to be Paul and Michelle. Now I'm just Paul. And it turns out, I like him. The house is cleaner now. Not just physically, though yeah, it helps that nobody's leaving half-drunk oat milk lattes on the nightstand, but emotionally, spiritually. I walk through each room, and it feels mine again. I even reclaimed the guest room and turned it into a recording studio, something I always wanted to do but never got around to, because Michelle once said, "Do you really want to listen to yourself talk all day?" Turns out, yes, I do. I launched a podcast. It's not big yet, but it's mine. It's called Version Control, stories about people who thought they had their lives figured out until they didn't. Divorcees, burned out entrepreneurs, people who reinvented themselves when the world stopped making sense. It's part therapy, part content. And honestly, it's been the most authentic thing I've done in years. Episode 3 is titled, The Spreadsheet That Changed Everything. It's getting decent traction. People want to hear stories that sound like their own nightmares, just with a slightly better ending. Michelle's not the villain in my story. Not anymore. She's just a plot point. A catalyst. An update that failed to install. If I'm being honest, I don't hate her. But I also don't miss her. I miss the idea of her, the potential version of us we never became. The one I thought we were building, back when we still argued about which couch to buy and whether to get a grill with 3 burners or 4. But that version didn't survive contact with reality. She stopped being my partner the moment she started being a performer. Smiling at her phone, giggling at messages I didn't send, scheduling betrayal with Google Calendar like it was a dentist appointment. It's wild how tech-savvy cheating can get when the heart checks out. I learned something, though. You can't compete with someone's fantasy. You can only wake up. And I did. Hard. I cleaned the attic last week, finally. Came across an old box labeled M+P wedding stuff. Inside, a dried bouquet, a guest book with half the pages blank, a USB drive with our ceremony photos, and a handwritten card from Michelle that said, "You are the safest place I've ever known." I stared at it for a long time. Then I closed the box and carried it out to the garbage. Because here's the truth. Safety doesn't mean stagnation. I want to be someone's spark, not their shelter from boredom. There's no ceremony for moving on. No certificate. No applause. It happens in pieces, small victories that add up quietly. Like fixing a leaky sink on your own. Like sleeping through the night without wondering who she's texting. Like laughing at a show and realizing the empty seat beside you doesn't feel empty anymore. It feels available. I've started dating again. Nothing serious. Just coffee, Shared appetizers, light conversation that doesn't feel like a hostage negotiation. I've been honest about what happened. Surprisingly, people appreciate the transparency. Vulnerability sells, I guess. One woman, a nurse named Dana, asked me what I'm looking for now. I thought for a second, then said, someone who's honest enough to tell me when they're bored and strong enough not to lie about why. She smiled. Fair enough. We'll see where that goes. Or not. Either way, I'll be fine. Because I rebuilt from the inside out. No more guesswork. No more hoping someone changes. No more treating loyalty like a down payment on future love. Now, I keep receipts. Not because I don't trust people, but because I trust myself to recognize the signs. People lie with words, but they confess with patterns. Michelle taught me that. And I took notes. Real ones. I'm not angry anymore. Not looking for justice. Not waiting for karma. I've got my music, my podcast, my peace, and a clipboard in the closet, just for old time's sake. Labeled, when I finally woke up. Date stamped. Indexed. Closed. Subscribe to the channel